I didn't think this would happen again, but by some miracle, I stumbled upon another cheap punch needle kit. And as someone who's been punch needling for over 3 years and who's certified in punch needle, I feel a need to share some of the benefits and pitfalls with starting with a cheap beginner's kit. So today, I'm going to be reviewing this kit, trying it out for myself, and sharing my thoughts. So today we are punching the Kikkerland punch needle kit. I bought it from a local bookstore gift shop type place, and it cost me, I don't know if you can read this, it cost me $13.99 Canadian. So for anyone watching from the United States, it'll probably cost you around $9.75, and for any European friends, it'll cost you about €9. So let's go through this kit. They've included a list of what's included in this kit here, and I already see some red flags. So we have a 6-inch bamboo hoop frame, which is kind of a red flag because bamboo and other wooden hoops aren't strong enough to withstand the motion of punch needle. The fabric ends up loosening and just falling out of the hoop. And I know this because my very first punch needle kit that I started on included a bamboo hoop frame. Then we have a square canvas to stitch on. They didn't specify if it was monk's cloth or not, so again, I'm a little worried that this might end up being Ida cloth, which isn't really great for punch needle. And then we have some color threads, threader, and one punch needle, plus one pattern guide and helpful tips on getting started. So what I'll do first is get this fabric into the hoop. It looks like Ida, if I'm gonna be honest, but who knows, maybe punching with it won't be so bad. I am sad to say that this is a wooden embroidery hoop though. I'm worried about how punching with this will be. Okay, so I've got my fabric in my hoop here. I'm worried about how tight this will stay once I start punching, but because of this needle, I think things might be better than I expect them to be. So here is the punch needle. It reminds me a lot of the punch needle that we got in the Amazon kit that I tested out in my previous video. Go check that out if you haven't already. The needle width seems a little bit thinner, which is a good thing because I feel like a thicker needle would just loosen up this fabric way too much or even tear it apart. So I think this might be a good sign. To compare it with an Oxford needle, which is what I normally use, both size-wise and width-wise, it's comparable to the Oxford 13 fine, which is a very good sign. Certainly this one is much less ergonomic. I feel like my wrists are gonna get messed up after using this, but who knows, maybe being a negative Nancy about this isn't a good idea. And I'm happy to see that they've included quite a bit of yarn, I think, for this project, and in good amounts, and also not cut up into weird lengths like what was done with the Michaels kit, which if you want to see, also in my last video on testing cheap punch needle kits. Another thing I want to say about the yarn is that it's probably acrylic. I'm not sure why they say wool yarn here, because it definitely looks and feels like acrylic. I won't speak too much on threading because threading your punch needle is kind of the same everywhere if you don't have like an Oxford needle or something that doesn't need like a wire threader. But in terms of the instructions, they don't seem horrible. I do find it interesting that they say to make sure that the needle goes all the way into the fabric because the loops will be even on the other side. This is true, but the photo on the front of the kit only shows them using the flat side of the stitches. So those instructions they don't really seem to correlate to how this kit is supposed to be punched, according to the image on the box. But anyways, how about we get started? What I'm going to do is start with some of those small bits here, and then move on to the bigger stuff. So there we go, we've got our needle threaded. The yarn and the needle weight seem to be matched well, so that's another good sign. It's not like the needle is too thick or too thin for the yarn, or vice versa. So I'm going to get started on some of those dark mushroom things here. This is not a good sign. Look at how much loose this fabric got. I only punched 2 stitches and it loosened up so quickly. Let's keep going just as an experiment and see how, I guess, how much we can take before punching with this hoop gets too unbearable. Okay, yeah, that's enough. This is literally all I've done, and look how much looser this fabric is in the hoop. In punch needle, your fabric has to be drum tight, and the fact that I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I made less than 10 stitches, and the fabric is already loosened up this much, that is not a good sign. And I find it very interesting that in the instructions, they say to make sure that the grip of the needle touches the fabric because it creates even loops on the opposite side of the fabric. It's not just the needle. The frame or hoop you use also makes a huge difference for this. If your fabric is too loose on your frame or your hoop, you're also gonna get uneven loops. So, very bad call from Kikkerland. I'm actually gonna switch out this wooden embroidery hoop for this plastic embroidery hoop from the Michaels punch needle kit that I tested out. And that's a big deal because I hated the Michaels punch needle kit. It was horrible, but it had one really great thing about it, and that was that it included a plastic hoop. And I'm gonna show you why that's so important right now. So this is the pattern in a no-slip hoop. As you can see, it's drum tight, and if we punch with it here, you can see that the fabric is still staying tight on our hoop here. We're not having to retighten it like every 2 seconds. See, look at that. So that's a big L from Kikkerland. This type of punch needle where it's done from the back, so you only see the flat stitches, is something that I personally like to call deco punching. It's not actually like an established term that people use. It's just something that I came up with to distinguish this from punch needle rug hooking, where the loop side is used and you make things that are more, I guess, practical. And there's nothing wrong with deco punching. It's a great technique, it's super fun, but only if you have like the right combination of tools and materials. And if you don't have the right combination of tools and materials, things get pretty miserable. I also think deco punching has a lot of fun, really cute patterns to it. Like this one, I really love the like mushroom, forest, kind of like cottagecore fairy vibes that this pattern has. I named like 5 different aesthetics at once, but you know what I mean. It's a nice pattern. Maybe this is me being overly critical, but I do think that this pattern is just a little bit too detailed for the size that we have here, because there's a lot of really small things that are going on. There's a lot of small details and things that are going on in this pattern that I'm concerned won't translate fully into the finished work. But hey, we're doing our best. I'm making smaller stitches than how they did it on the box for this kit, just because I think that looks better and it captures more small details more accurately. And even while I'm doing that, I'm still getting quite a bit of yarn left over, which is a very good thing. It's a good sign. It's a sign that they picked the correct needle height for this type of a project. Because for deco punching, since you are using flat stitches instead of the loop side, you don't really need a tall needle height because no one's gonna see the loops on the other side. Oh my gosh. My yarn is stuck in my threader. Probably my fault for twisting it around so much. This needle also isn't horrible to punch with. I thought it would be a lot less ergonomic, but because I switched out the wooden hoop for the plastic hoop, and the width of the needle is a lot thinner, I'm not having to, I guess, push the needle in as much, so it's a lot better on your wrists than some of the other kits that I've tried out. Okay, so we're finished the top part of the mushroom here with some yarn left, which is good. I would rather have a kit that contains too much yarn than a kit with less yarn than we need. I was worried that I wouldn't have enough for this section, but we ended up having a good amount left, which is a good thing. I do think that this yarn is quite fuzzy, so it's a little bit annoying to handle, but that's just a personal gripe. Okay, I'm back. My phone died. But we were able to do the bottom part of the mushroom and the top part of the stem, which is good. And we still had yarn left over from all of these, so that's a good sign. So let's keep going. Every time that I get worried about whether this kit has enough yarn for a specific section, I end up pleasantly surprised, and this is one of those instances. I didn't think that we'd actually have enough yarn to finish the white bottom of the stem, but we did, which is pretty nice. So let's keep going. I hope this is showing you how much better a plastic no-slip hoop is compared to a wooden hoop. Now, I know the loop side is irrelevant for this project, but for the sake of proving how a no-slip hoop is better than a wooden hoop, let's take a look at the back. So as you can see, the loops are nice and even, which I guess is more proof of why tension between your fabric and your hoop or frame is really important, and why having a gripper frame or a carpet tack frame or a good quality hoop is really important. Okay, so I think I was right about the needle not being ergonomic because my wrist is starting to hurt now. It's definitely a lot better than the Michaels needle or the Amazon needle, especially since I've gotten this far into the project and only now it's starting to hurt. I don't think using this needle would be a good idea if you want to do bigger projects or if you want to use it to make something functional, like a rug. Because if you do something like that, you're gonna have to be making smaller stitches, so a lot more of them, and that means a bigger chance of your wrists feeling pain or even getting injured. Wait, what? Okay, so this is our first instance of our yarn running out. The kit did such a good job of including yarn amounts for every other color, but for some reason, this darkest green, there just wasn't enough of it. Normally, I would leave those spots blank just to give the viewers a demonstration of what this kit is actually like and some of the drawbacks of it, because not having enough yarn is a drawback, but I really like the design of this kit, so what I'm gonna do is use the second darkest green and just fill in the spots that are missing. So this is the photo that we were given for how this kit should look like, and here is my finished version. I think it looks pretty good, even though, like I said before, the darkest color of yarn was missing. I was able to replace it with the second darkest color, and it still looks good. I ended up moving the project back into its original bamboo hoop for display purposes, and I used some of the leftover yarn to baste the back so you wouldn't see the extra fabric peeking out. Overall, a better kit than I expected. The best overall kit out of the 3 punch needle kits I reviewed so far, but with a very special caveat, which I'll mention when I talk about the problems, because there are a few things that need to be fixed for anyone to have fun punching with this kit. Number 1, the bamboo hoop has to be replaced with a no-slip hoop. Otherwise, this kit is basically unusable. Luckily, I had one. If I didn't, this would be the worst kit. And that's the caveat that I was talking about. Number 2, increase the yarn amounts for some of the sections, just so that there's enough yarn for each part of the project. And number 3, better threaders, because my threader was janked up by the end of working on this project, and I basically threw it away because it was unusable. I'm not sponsored by Kikkerland, and I got this kit myself because I feel like viewers appreciate someone who actually cares about punch needle and quality crafting supplies to test out kits and share opinions. If you'd like me to review more punch needle kits or just craft kits in general, let me know. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.